Hi, and welcome back to Hot Off the Press, the show about new releases and the authors that bring them to you. I'm your host, Jim Nettles, and we're bringing a bunch of stuff to stack up that to-be-read pile tonight. So let's go around and see who is here and what they're bringing in, and then we'll start diving into those releases. So, John.
Hey, I am John L. French, a retired crime scene investigator from the Baltimore City Police Department, now a writer and author and general layabout. The book I'm hawking today is Simon Tombs, The Wine of Cana, published by Padwolf Press.
Jamie?
Hey, I'm Jamie Garner. I'm a professional author and editor. I write under the pen names J.B. Garner, Amelia Quantrill, and Temple Hart. And tonight we're going to be talking about my upcoming re-debut into the lit RP genre. Okay, deep breath. This is a deep breath name. From Angry Secretary to Catgirl Heroine in just one rebirth. Yeah.
Didn't, who starred in that? Oh, wait, never mind. Wrong series. Jenny.
Faster, pussycat. Kill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going the Russ Meyer route. I'm trying to go the bad Catwoman route.
Oh, no.
There's no bad Russ Meyer films.
That's true, actually. I'm Gini Koch. I write the Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series, formerly for Daw Books and now for Ginger Blue Publishing. And I write in all lengths and genres and under a variety of other pen names, including Anita Ensall. And my latest release under that name is The Belters, Volume 1, which is a mosaic novel set in my Belters universe in the far future.
So, coming in, I want to start, as always, coming in and taking a look. What's the world we're falling into? Where's the place that we're going to allow our characters to develop fully and maybe kill a few of them off as well in the process? Because, there can be at least a lot fewer. So, John, why don't we talk a little bit about the world, kind of the big setup for The Wine of Cana?
Okay, The Wine of Cana is a follow-up book to The Magic of Simon Tombs. It's a collection of short stories. Simon Tombs was inspired by all the gentleman adventurers I watched and read as a kid. We haze a little bit of John Steed, a little bit of Simon Templar, the Toff, the Baron, all those urbane people who simply go through life with a smile on their face and a desire to do the right thing and confound the ungodly as well as the police. But the difference is Simon can do magic. And he has a way of convincing the universe to go along with what he wants, knowing that there's always a price for magic. But his intention is that someone else he tries to make sure that someone else always pays the price. In this collection, he meets a variety of people. There's vampires, there's a haunted museum, there's a hellhound, several ghosts. But throughout it all, he is missing the love he lost at the end of the first book.
All right, Jamie, since we're stepping into lit RPG, what's the big world we're stepping into? And what's the game system, out of curiosity?
Well, the game system, whenever I do a lit RPG, I generally go with something that is my own creation, because it has to fit the story as much as be a good game system. I definitely take a lot of inspiration for the system from MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV, some World of Warcraft, bit of D&D for spice, a lot of classic stuff. As for the world, so Catgirl Heroine is a portal fantasy, an isekai. So the world we're going to talk, there's a little splash of Earth, which we quickly get rid of, to go to a fantastical world called Aurea. Aurea is, on the surface, it seems to be the very surface seems very prototypical fantasy, but it's anything but. At least that's what everyone who comes from Earth would think, because Aurea itself, dreams of this magical world have leaked to Earth, which has very dwindling magic, and is hitting the dreams and creativity of game designers, writers, things like that. So there's been all sorts of games made about this world and novels written about this world, but they're all very incomplete. They're wisps of dreams then molded and taken through the lens of the creatives that put them out into the world. So when our heroine arrives in this world, she has a lot of preconceptions that are quickly disabused by the force that brings her there. And so there's a constant, is this what I remember? Is this going to be different? Ori itself is a vast magical place. There's specifically, we spend our time in a portion of it called the Heavenly Savannah, which is giant fantasy like African savannah. Think of it that way. Inhabited by all sorts of clans of beast folk that live in the shadow of a giant mountain, essentially the Mount Olympus of this world, the spire of the dragon gods, where the gods literally live. So this is a blessed divine land. The main part of the world we learn about outside of Aurea is the Silver Tier Empire, which is a vast network of a vast empire consisting of what would be typical fantasy races, like humans and elves and dwarves, who have a very distinct agenda to destroy the gods, believing that mortals should be in command of their own free will and destinies, while forgetting that one of the principles of how the gods work in this world is that mortals always have free will, that free will is more dominant over the power of the gods.
So, Jenny, what about the world of the Belters?
The Belters universe is set in our solar system, easily 1,000 years in the future. We have expanded within our solar system. Close range, faster than light has been created much sooner than long distance FTL. So we start expanding because the asteroid belt really holds everything we need in it, but very much like all the fields where we have people that are working those fields, that other people doing jobs other people don't want to do, the Belters are all miners or a system of government set up around the miners. So they're kind of looked down upon by everybody, but they're the reason the system is surviving and thriving, because they find water and phosphorus and all sorts of precious metals that are necessary on all the planets and lunars and suspended cities that are there. So it's a mosaic novel. So really the tie is the belt itself. You're following different people at different times in belt expansion. First story, it takes you to what is really the most important part of the second wave of expansion, which is where the two deadly terrors of the solar system are created at the same time. And that is the Kalalula, which are the giant space squids you see on the cover, and the never-ending pirate Bozergeist, which is a title like the Dread Captain Roberts, only not nearly so benign. And those are created, and they are a plague to everyone but those in the belt the most. So you're going through generationally, you're following a couple, one family in particular, but really a couple of them, major belt families, so to speak. And you go through and you see how the belt is expanding. And up until a point, we never had outside contact. Our first contact was within our solar system, aka those giant space squids, and we did not behave. We behaved exactly like you expect humanity to behave. So there is at this point no first contact, though in one of the stories, one of the characters believes it's an accidental first contact and they found something, which will play out in the Belters Volume 2, coming in probably a couple of years, because I got to fit short stories in mosaic into this in between novels. But I have been wanting to do this since 2011, and it's just really exciting to finally have the first volume done, ready, and out.
As the first thing that comes to mind for me is space sushi. So,
well, you wish. Like the wingspans are their tentacle spans are like unbelievable. Miles. These are giant creatures, and it is not all that easy. They are very hard to capture.
So, Jamie, I'm going to rotate around to you to start on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about who we're going on the journey with. Like, who are some of our main characters? Who are we hanging out with? Who's causing the mayhem in this in the book?
Well, fortunately, my Ginger Blue Publishing, my publisher, delivered some nice bit of character art, which, yes, should be right there in the process of the art department, like putting the cover together. So that is, well, after her trip to Aurea, that is our main character, Beatrix Taylor. B to pretty much everyone. B, of course, starts as a quite normal human, and then in the process of coming to Aurea, gets transformed into, well, cat girl, lion girl would be more appropriate. In the world, they're called Arslans. And she's quite literally the proverbial angry secretary. She's starts off on Earth basically in a dead-end job with terrible bosses, and a very Jared from Sales, I guess. Even though he's only in one chapter, Jared from Sales is an ongoing villain in this story. Just that jerk that has just that amount of power, and after finally basically blowing up at Jared from Sales and stalking off, B contemplates the current dead-end situation of her life, thinks about having a nice night with one of her favorite video games, then sees a cat in the road, rescues it, and gets hit by a truck. Classic isekai format. And then is reborn into Aurea, where she is transformed to the form she has and has to figure out how to survive in this world that is very much like the video game she plays, but very much isn't. You have someone that has dealt with anger issues all their life, has dealt with basically a dead-end life, and is getting an opportunity, a second chance, to make things better. And in a world where being angry can have some really good fringe benefits, as she discovers. Some of the game systems actually convert her anger into something way more useful than just being angry. And she basically early on saves the daughter of the head of a nearby clan, finds herself embroiled in what looks to be a brewing war between two of the clans of the Savannah, while also the hint that something far more dangerous, the Empire, is about to invade what they consider to be barbarian lands to bring civilization and order, while also getting a chance to kill the gods. And has to figure out how to navigate all this, stay alive, and make something of her new life in this new world.
So, Jenny, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of who we're hanging out with through the various stories of the Belters?
The most consistent family presence are the Olmsteads. They are very involved in the start of belt mining, and they're always they're number 3 in the conglomerate mining companies. They're independent miners, and then there are 3 big conglomerates. And Astounding Minds is always number 3, but they don't care because being number 3 is pretty good, right? And they're very successful, and they have, from the original Aaron Olmsted has put things in place to ensure that his progeny keep fighting the good fight, not the bad fight. So there's usually an Olmsted somewhere in a story who is either affecting it mildly or much more radically. The Akers family is also in there more than once. They're galaxy mining, and they're number 1. And so they have impact. But there's other characters that are they're one-offs, or you'll see them again in volume 2, but you're only going to see them once in volume 1. The Galactic Police, which I know. Shouldn't it be the Solar System Police? Shouldn't it be World Pictures instead of Universal Studios? Okay, humans like to overname. So the Galactic Police are who try to keep the system and the belt safe. Because of Guys, that pirate king who has amassed an armada that no one has been able to find because space is vast. The blackness is vast. So all of our pictures make the asteroid belt look like it's really close, but there's just unbelievable amounts of space between all the big rocks and any of the little rocks and anything else. So you're out there alone in the blackness. And so it takes a certain kind of person to mine it, and it takes a certain kind of person to protect it. So the Galactic Police feature prominently on different police persons, depending on what's going on, whether it's a claim jump or I took a new career and why am I stuck in the middle of a murder mystery when this is not what I want to do, police officer and so forth. So Galactic Police are all over the place. The planets, the lunars, and the suspended cities. So around Jupiter and Saturn, there are suspended cities. Think of them as cloud cities. That they all of these have their own space force. So like Earth, our moon, Mars, its moons, all of Jupiter's moons and Saturn's moons have all been terraformed, and we've created small suns, basically. So anytime a new planet, lunar or solar or a suspended city is being created, there's this whole team that's going to be terraforming and putting up the suns so that our solar system can survive, because once you're too far from our sun, you don't get to live. And they've changed all that with science, which is nice, but science can also be tricky, and anything can be gained, basically. So you're going to meet somebody new in each installment, but you'll meet an Olmsted the most.
John?
Okay. Well, other than Simon Toombs, who's in almost all the stories, his police contact is a woman named Caitlin Hood, who in one of the final stories of the first book, something happened to her, and she now has a very good sense of good and evil, more than any police officer really should. And that caused her some problems early on, actually between the books. Now she's a detective sergeant of homicide who has basically been given the strays and the cast-offs, one of whom is Detective Charm. And it's basically, he basically came from a nickname I was given, Detective from what I used to do, and Charm because I'm from Baltimore, also known as Charm City. He was supposed to be on a walk, just a walk-on, and wound up staying longer than I thought he would. He also he's married, and his wife has a secret of which he's not yet aware. There's a woman who runs a possibly haunted museum. She's in a few stories. There's angels going in and out. There's a former hitman who's condemned to hell, and he has his own story arc, and it all comes together in the last story. There's a lot of people who weave in and out of these stories. And there's Judas Iscariot, who's one of Simon's best friends.
Well, at least he can manage the paperwork. So, one of the things that when we're writing series and writing books and kicking things off like this, becomes that notion of what's the inspirations, right? What's the driver? Jenny, you came in and said, I've been wanting to write this for a long while. John, for you kind of came and said this was inspired by all of our childhood, all the heroes from childhood. So Jenny, I'm gonna start with you on this one. Kind of what are the influences? What really drove you to want to create this universe?
I had an opportunity very early in my career to write 2 short stories for 2 DAW anthologies that were going to be edited by Martin H. Greenberg, which was definitely on my bucket list. So I wanted in. My agent had made the arrangements, and Carrie Hughes was one of the editors. And I sent her a story. She goes, "This is not for me, but it is absolutely for this other anthology. And I'm sending it over to Gene Raby right now." So that was really exciting, right? Gene helped make it exactly what would fit the thing. That was easy. But when I sent a story to Carrie, she was like, "I don't want something set in your existing world." I'm like, this isn't. She goes, "Well, it feels like it." And I said, "Well, admittedly, yeah, I wanted to do more on that." And that was The Royal Scam, which became the basis for my Martian Alliance Chronicles series. But I still had to write a story for Carrie for Love and Rockets, and I was struggling. I wrote or started 25 versions of the same story till I realized that what was wrong wasn't the story, it was the POV character. And as soon as I changed the POV character from my hero to my heroine, the story, I wrote it in a day. And I loved the characters. Evie's lost in the belt. There's a mystery about what she's running from and what she's trying to head to. Cal is the strong, silent hero type who rescues her without any expectation of any kind of payoff other than please help do some work so you're great. And through that, Carrie liked it. It definitely made it in. But I realized that even though it wasn't an existing world, I really liked it. I really liked the feeling that Evie had of being so alone in this vast blackness, and all she could count were these cold, uncaring stars, versus Cal, who's lived his life as an independent miner in the blackness. He sees the stars as his friends. And from that's Wanted, which is, I think, the third or fourth story in the novel. From that, once I turned it in, I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about the world they were in. I didn't necessarily want to do more with Cal and Evie, but I really wanted to do more with where they live. But I had contracts and I had other things and et cetera, et cetera. And we get to, I think it was 2020, when I had several short story anthologies, all of them science fiction based. And I thought, wait a minute, I could write more stories set in the belt. And if I do it right, I can get a mosaic novel out of it. And that's what happens. So there are several, it's all thanks to a bunch of editors, really, for demanding X and wanting Y. So I'm very pro editorial direction. So, but that was why it came from the story that Carrie Hughes accepted for that anthology that just wouldn't leave me.
What about you, John?
When you do a collection of short stories about a character, I already have the character. I had him from the last book. But the inspiration for the stories in there came from a variety of places. I saw a list on Facebook about the cryptids of Maryland. And I've already written a few books on cryptids. But this one had a really strange name and background. It was Peeping Tom the Kindergeist. And it was one of these things set in a train tunnel in Ellicott City. And once you see the Kindergeist, you can't unsee it. And, well, terrible things. And so I started thinking, what can I do with this? All right, I know what a Kindergeist is, but where did the Peeping Tom come from? And I decided that was a problem for Simon Toombs. And I do a Lovecraftian bit, which kind of leads into Simon getting involved. And the way he solves it is basically, again, from something, I won't give it away, but it's something I used to watch when I was a kid. The title story, The Wine of Cana, first of all, yeah, it's that wine from that wedding feast. And I got the idea in church, in which actually that gospel was read. And my thinking was, well, first of all, if you do the math, Jesus made a lot of wine. And I'm thinking, well, the wedding feast was almost over, so there had to be some left over. And that's basically the thing. It is the rarest wine in the world, and Simon gets Judas Iscariot because, hey, he was at the feast. He knows about the wine. I mean, he was there. He said, well, yeah, we were invited, and we're probably the reason it ran out, you know. And so he gets Simon involved because he was, a long time ago, he was asked to sort of, you know, basically provide the provenance of the wine. Because, hey, he's into antiques because they weren't antiques when he started out. So, you know, it's basically a hunt for the last bottle of wine. And of course, it plays a role in another story. The idea, somebody was discussing, what if they took an old monastery and used it as sort of a secular retreat? And that got me another story. So, you know, it's, Detective Charm being an inspiration by its nickname that Jay Smith gave me. Giving him the background as a dodgy cop who's trying to do better basically inspired a story where his past comes back to haunt him. And speaking of haunts, of course, there is a ghost, and just, ordinary life. And, as all writers can think of, you never turn down, you're always looking for an inspiration. Somebody told me, use the phrase, it's a dog eat dog world. Well, there is a 50s, 60s hitman who basically, just kind of brushes everything off by, well, it's a dog eat dog world. And he learns just how accurate dog eat dog could be. So, you sort of have to bring everything together. And there's even a little Humphrey Bogart at the end.
All right, Jamie, how about for you? What was the big inspiration?
Oh, well, I mean, there's lots of little inspirations. I mean, but I'm gonna say, I guess the big one for the story aspect was just so there's lots of stories where of brave adventurers going into savage lands. It happens a lot in role playing games. It happens a lot in fiction. But I wanted, and there's also lots of sword and sandals tales about barbarians. You've got Conan's, your Red Sonjas, all that sort of thing. So I kind of had the idea to kind of flip, what if we kind of flipped everything on its head? Okay, technically, we're following a barbarian, but she's not, because basically looking at these quote unquote primitive cultures from the actual realistic aspect that they're just cultures. And these civilized people coming in are, well, just another culture, but to kind of play with the prejudices and the preconceptions. And then I recently started getting back into edit. I wrote some lit RPG, a fairly successful trilogy, co-authored a while back, like before COVID. And I kind of got drifted out of the genre, but I recently got back into doing editing for some lit RPG authors. Ken Lang, who was on ConTinual, and Kenny King, he just recently got an audio deal with Simon and Schuster. So, I kind of reignited my love for the genre. And so I decided, I thought about doing it again. And then Ginger Blue Publishing walks in and it's like, hey, we understand lit RPGs are really successful. We understand that you used to do them. And I'm like, yes, and I'll do it again. So I took the two ideas and mashed them together, and then As an avid gamer myself, the rest just kind of came naturally. It's like take all the things I'd love or want to do with a gaming system, and then purpose fit it to the story in the world, and the rest is history. Well, it will be history once it's released.
The rest is future.
The rest is future. Anticipatory.
Well, it sounds like we've got a lot for everybody to now start rolling into their fall with some nice little cozy science fiction and fantasy adventures. So let's make sure everybody knows where to find you guys. Website, social media. Remind everybody the name of the book and where they can find it. So, John, you're up first.
Okay, the name of the book is Simon Tombs, The Wine of Cana. The cover is by Patrick Thomas. And you can find them Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever, these kind of books are sold. And you can find me at John French on Facebook, or John L. French, which is my author page.
Jamie?
So, from Angry Secretary to Catgirl Heroine in Just One Rebirth, is of course being published by Ginger Blue Publishing. We are looking at a September release. To find out more information, it should be going up shortly, probably by the end of the week on the Ginger Blue Publishing homepage. I'll be throwing up some information on my own webpage coming up soon. As for finding me directly, easy enough. I'm JB Garner Writes pretty much everywhere. Blue Sky, Facebook, though I'm most active on Blue Sky. And of course, my website is jbgarnerwrites.com.
Jenny?
GiniKoch.com. I'm all over Facebook. If you'd like to join my free newsletter, Hook Me Up, you can do so from the bottom of most of the pages of that website. I'm, like I said, all over Facebook. I am still on X, Twitter, and on Blue Sky and Pinterest, and it looks like I'm on Instagram, but Ginger Blue has been kind enough to make sure that their social media dude makes it look like I'm on Instagram, but I'm not. So, super active, but not really. So please stop sending cards and letters there. Please send them to Blue Sky or Facebook. The book is The Belchers, Volume 1, by me, writing as Anita Ensall. It is out now in wide release. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple Books. You can get physical copies from Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And if you happen to be going to Dragon Con, I'm not sure when this is going live, but if you're going to Dragon Con, or you have to be at BoucherCon in New Orleans right after, I should have copies of this with me. So buy now, buy often.
And you can find me at jamespnettles.com, authoressentialsworkshops.com, creatingpros.com, and of course here at ConTinual. Go stack up those to-be-read piles. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.